from Studio D in the heart of the South Carolina Lowcountry. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you around the globe. Here's the thing, family. I hope this message finds you truly well and joyful and healthy. Wash your hands. Coming up is the Encore presentation of yesterday's second live episode of Here's a Thing. I call it the Wine and Whiskey Hour. For those who have put the small, loud people to bed and want to sit back with some brown water or a glass or three of Cabernet and simply chill. The following hour of radio-adjacent nonsense is dedicated to the principle of intentional distraction. Once again, I beseech you, a little Shakespeare for you, I beseech you, I urge you to utilize this time, this universal pause, to read, write, think, speak, and listen. Be still. Be calm. That's what these live shows are about. If you'd like to chill for an hour or so and listen to general chatter about this, that, and perhaps the other, then join me for the live episodes of Here's a Thing. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe or follow and download past and future daily episodes about elevating life to a higher plane. As always, I thank you for your time and remind you to be nothing more complicated than authentic. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you back in this space tomorrow. The pre-show show. As I ensconce myself here in Studio D. Really wanted to make sure that the audio is up to the standards that I demand. So I wanted to do another sound check. But since you're here, Jeff X from Des Moines, I took your suggestion, and even though I did a show already today, I have a whiteboard, a dry erase board here with all of my little brain droppings, my little topics on it that I just wanted to meander through. And a radio gift is that I got to almost none of it. As people are dinging and messaging me all over the place. Lord have mercy. Anyway, I am endeavoring to find the best time of day to do this. And had discussions. I do have a great contingent, probably a solid 55% of my daily audience is from Western Europe and the UK predominantly. And so I wanted to make sure that they had a chance to get in on this as well. But as I discussed with my spouse, I wanted to make sure that we gave equal time to equal audiences, and we might actually have several different audiences. The one that likes to consume a traditional podcast in short form, where they can grab a message in 8 to 12 minutes and move on with their day or move on to the next podcast. And some people might want to, like yourself, Jeff X from Des Moines, might want to just kick back after the kids have gone to bed with maybe, who knows, maybe a little brown water, maybe a little vino, maybe a nice cigar, and just chill with the conversation just a little bit. The man's got to smoke. Jeff, why don't you let us know what you're partaking of, what maybe you're imbibing, and what maybe you're smoking this evening, as long as it's legal. This is a family show. Actually, this is the late night wine and whiskey show, so you can do whatever it is that you want. Young parent needs all the help he can get. Oh, English pipe tobacco. I've told my wife off and on for a lot of years that I think I would enjoy smoking a pipe. I think it would suit me. So maybe if I get some support in that, we can make it happen. And so I'm going to give the pre-show show a little bit of time to gather steam and address a little bit more of what I wanted to address earlier. But how do you feel about this music? It's very Bosch to me. We're in the middle of watching the new season. Love that show. I feel like Harry Bosch sitting in my sort of mid-century modern glass castle perched on a cliff above Hollywood and LA in the hills. And I'm solving murders with smooth jazz in the background. And so as we gather the audience for Here's the Thing Live, the Wine and Whiskey Hour, I will say that in my little studio here, probably wouldn't be very advisable for me to have a pipe or a cigar, anything like that. A little bit of a confined space. I might set off the smoke detector. And I don't have any brown water, any wine. Although a nice glass of Cabernet sounds like it would warm the tummy nicely, doesn't it? But I will contribute to the mood. Right here, I'm not imbibing, but I'm looking at a picture of a 750 of Eagle Rare Kentucky bourbon. So that's my contribution. You watch the whole season in 3 nights. See, I could sit there and watch the whole thing in one night. But I think, what was it? We were watching, gosh. What's the show with Billy Bob Thornton where he's a lawyer? We were watching that. And I think we blew the first season in 1 or 2 nights. And it was fantastic. I think my wife just piped in. Yes, Goliath. Thank you, honey. I think we watched the first season of Goliath. I think we tore that bad boy up in 1 or 2 nights. And so I said, let's gear back. We might have done that with the first season of Bosch. But, we discussed earlier delayed gratification, yes? And in the spirit of that, I thought, well, let's just chill out. Let's make sure we do 1 episode per night. Yeah. Although I think we did episode 1 night, and I think we did 2 and 3. It was either 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 in one night, so we cheated a little bit there. But that was fine. This one, though, I think most of them have had 8 episodes. This one has 10. Which is nice. And they got lots of side stories flinging around here, there, and everywhere. I'm not going to do any spoilers for anyone who hasn't started it yet. But it seems like there's definitely an A, B, and a C story. And if I think a little bit more about it, there might even be a D story. But anyway, so on this Here's the Thing Live, Late night, wine and whiskey hour. Meandering through this and that after the kids are in bed. I want to lead with this. My belly's full, I'm very satisfied. One of my very favorite meals is, well, tacos it's hard to say, it's hard to quantify anything, any category as vast as food or music or whatever as top 3 or top 5 or top 10. It's nearly impossible. There's so much good in everything. But tacos, top 3 for sure. Mexican overall, probably number 1 on my culinary global excursion. But anyway, we had burritos, I think, this evening. My wife is very handy at making, she's very handy with the tortillas and various fillings. So whatever, she puts the food in front of me, I eat it. That's how I was raised. I'm not a picky eater. There's about 3 things on earth that I will not eat, but it doesn't have anything to do with being spoiled. It's just I do not like them. But burritos. And so the following small anecdote is for anyone who has teenagers, currently has teenagers. Those of you that have little kids, you don't know. Now, you were a teenager at one time, and if you're later on in life, such as a baby boomer, someone in the demographic of my parents, won't understand this either. And I say that knowing full well that you raised me and my wife and everyone like us in our generation. But for the parents of little kids and for the parents of grown kids, I think there must be, it's like that pregnancy hormone or that baby hormone that makes all the bad memories go away and makes mommies want to have more kids. Jeff, if Audra's there, I don't know. Twins might be enough, but I think once you've passed it, you block that out. And as a parent of young kids, of course, you were a teenager not too terribly long ago, but again, there's that hormone that blocks it out thing. I wasn't that bad. I was a great kid. Or I was a mite precocious, but other than that, I was easy to handle. No, you weren't. You were a terrorist, just like all of us. So anyway, if you have teenagers currently, you will laugh. If you have little kids, good luck. So we're having burritos. I suppose. I wasn't told. I just knew we were having Mexican food of some kind that my wife made. And so the teenager comes downstairs and proceeds to serve her dinner onto her plate from the dish in which the food rested that came out of the oven. And she looks up and very deadpan, and quite honestly very serious, like, you know, what's the deal here, looked at my wife and said, "I thought we were having burritos." To which I just stood there going, did I just hear what I think I heard? And my wife said, "Well, what do you think that is?" And her response, enchiladas. Only a teenager. Only a teenager. Oh, good Lord. Only a teenager. I thought we were having burritos. Well, what does that look like? Enchiladas. It reminds you of the Jim Gaffigan bit that he used to do when he talks about how he worked at a Mexican restaurant. And the people would come in that were unfamiliar with the cuisine. I have no idea how you can be unfamiliar with Mexican cuisine, but they would sit down and he made jokes about, "Hi, welcome to La Hacienda. May I take your order?" Yes, what is a tostada? Well, that's a flour tortilla with meat, vegetables, and cheese. Okay, what is a burrito? That's a flour tortilla with meat, vegetables, and cheese. And what is an enchilada? Well, you get it. Anyway, that's what that reminded me of. So, as we sort of wrap it around, reintroduce and reset, welcome all, welcome in, one and all from around the globe. Welcome from Marietta, Georgia, to the Midwestern Plains of Des Moines, Iowa, over to the cool, breezy, peaceful beaches of La Jolla, California, across the Pacific, skipping like a rock across Hawaii, onto the Far East, across the Asian steppe, through Russia, Belarus, across the Balkans, into Belgium, over to Paris, and up to the UK, into the beautiful Highlands of Scotland. Welcome to Here's the Thing, live wine and whiskey hour from the beautiful South Carolina Lowcountry, where no one is outside enjoying this lovely weather. So feel free to chime in, let me know where you are, or just sit back and listen. Either way, thank you for being here. And my wife sent me a video today. There has been an amazing amount of good content, as they say. Everybody loves content. Well, the plague has brought out amateur filmmakers, shall we say, from everywhere. And there's some good stuff out there. YouTube has never been better. And she sent me this video from, I'd plug them if I could remember. If you're listening, hun, let me know what the husband and wife. It's like marriage during the quarantine or something like that. Holderness Family. Go check them out because this video was hysterical. I'm usually annoyed by watching videos, but this video was hysterical. And it was about how married couples get along during the quarantine. And one thing came up where the husband, sort of a theme throughout it, was the husband is the stereotypical sitcom husband who's good-natured, good-hearted, but sort of bumbling and can't really do anything right kind of a guy. And there was this one little stretch through the video where the guy said, he's like, I'm folding the laundry. I fixed the light bulb. And fixing the light bulb was changing the light bulb. And on. Very low-effort tasks like that. And on about the 12th one, the wife comes in and goes, "Here, is this what you want?" And puts some kind of goofy little elementary school soccer medal around his neck. And I looked at that and I thought, as I often do, maybe I read too much into things. Maybe I read exactly what everyone should be reading into them. But anyway, I thought about this and I thought, you know what? Why is that so hard? Listen, ladies. Listen very carefully. Men are not complex creatures. We are very simple. Now, in the following scenario, everyone wins. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing to smirk about with this. We don't need much, but a little pat on the head can go a long way. So, ladies, you're very busy. You have stuff that needs to get done. Running a household for a family, husband, wife, kids, or whatever your makeup is, it's very challenging. If you want to get things done with as little friction as possible, then give your husband a little pat on the head every now and then. He will be much, much more inclined to actually do the menial chore that you've asked so that you don't have to do it and you don't have to start a fight about it. Just swing by without him expecting it while he's folding the underwear and pat him on the head and say, "Thanks, babe." And he'll be just like a Saint Bernard. "Really? I'll do that again." It's called classic conditioning. Take a psychology course. Pat me on the head, give me a little treat every now and then, a little burrito, a little taco, something like that, and we'll all be just fine. And it goes both ways. I'm guessing... Wait a minute. What do you mean it goes both ways? You got the job done and I got a pat on the head. It seems to more like your definition of both ways means a little extra. So tell me what you mean. I get it. Like when I asked you to come in here and sit here and do a sound check with me when you clearly had other things you'd rather be doing. I should have patted you on the head. I did bring you ice cream and cookies. Your favorite ice cream. By the way, here's an unsolicited advertisement for, I think it's Publix brand. Cappuccino Fudge Blitz. How good does that sound? It's very popular around this house. I go sneaky 2 ways. I mentioned the teenager. Yeah, the teenager is no way that she could come. She's not my child because she doesn't like lemon stuff. I could eat lemon anything. I could drink lemon anything. Right here, 2 things that I have. Listen, here's my beverage for the evening. Was not a beer or a hard lemonade or hard cider. It's now all over my my lap. That's seltzer water with lemon juice. 2 things: seltzer water, lemon juice, and coffee. That's 3. Anyway, my kid doesn't like lemon, so guess what I do? I buy lemon cookies, lemon cake, lemon cupcakes, lemon ice cream, lemon Italian ice. A little fizz for you there. That's right. That way, I get all the dessert. But the other thing that I do to make sure that I get all the ice cream, you got to buy 2. Listen, you got to be crafty about this stuff. Don't just buy 1 thing of ice cream and hog it for yourself. That's rude. That's selfish. Don't be selfish. Be strategic. Buy 2 kinds of ice cream and make sure that one of them is a flavor that only you like. Strategic. But you got to buy the other one as well and make sure the other one is one that the other people in the house really, really love. That way they won't get a wandering eye over towards your ice cream. So welcome in to Here's the Thing Live Wine and Whiskey Hour, meandering through this and that after the kids are in bed. So we discussed vulgarity on the daily episode today. If you caught that, if you didn't catch that, please just go back and follow and download all of the episodes of Here's the Thing. And to my audience here on the live version, we also have an audience that's going to hear this recording a little bit later. So we'll speak to them as well. So go on and follow Here's the Thing on the Podbean app. Also, search Here's the Thing everywhere. Apple Podcasts, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeart, Spotify, all that stuff. Just search, subscribe, follow, download. Give me a little electronic high five, a little rating, 5-star rating and a review. Every little bit helps. But on the regular episode, on the daily episode today, we discussed the topic of vulgarity, which is something that's been driving me insane lately, especially with a teenager, because they're punched in the face. Well, they seek out vulgarity. Of course they do. All teenagers seek out vulgarity, but when I was a teenager, tell us, Grandpa, how were things when you were a kid? Yeah, when I was a teenager, we had to scrap and claw for somebody's Playboys, and one person would get a hold of it and they'd hide it somewhere. We had a little fort in the woods or under somebody's shed or something. And the most salacious thing you ever saw in there was boobies and some small frontal and some bow tie. The things that are amplified into these kids' consciousness these days is terrifying. So when it comes to our media consumption, I like to find things that are a little bit more tame and that I can sit there as a dad of a girl and not be completely horrified by what's on the screen. And that's a challenge. I mean, you might as well just take Netflix off altogether. But in addition to that, I just don't like, there's too much crap going on in the world that's depressing and horrifying and just mean-spirited and evil and underhanded and just downright trashy. And I don't want to turn on the TV and get more of that rammed at me. So basically, we're down to rewatching Downton Abbey and reruns of Frasier. And these two shows have something in common. The language is the interplay, the use of language is very fun for me. And Downton Abbey is just, it's a genteel, it's safe for everybody to watch. There's a little bit of minor salacious undertones, but it's not butt sex like House of Cards and things that you look and go, oh my God, as a grown adult who spent the greater portion of his life either in the Marine Corps or sailing or working on a golf course. And I blush. Anyway, Downton, it's just fun. It's just nice. And Frasier is absolutely brilliant dialogue and interplay between the two main characters, Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce. And it's just comforting. It's safe. It's a little warm blanket to hide from the grossness of the world. And in that spirit, it warms me to take it in. So, but even with that, you still see the undertones of the culture of vulgarity. And by vulgarity, I don't necessarily mean potty mouth, coarse language, or gratuitous sexual content. I mean just vulgar, loud, crass, coarse, lowbrow behavior. And it is rote screenwriting, and it's just boring and embarrassing since the beginning. But go all the way back to All in the Family and probably before that, and bring it on up to present day, where there's always someone who has manners and speaks well and that holds those around them to a higher standard, and they are mocked and derided shamelessly by the person who is invited to their event, which is black tie and whatever, and they want to come in and play their banjo, and they get offended and call you stuck up. And that's just a minor example of the fomentation of vulgarity. And I'm just weary of vulgarity in all of its forms. Because everybody, whoever, whatever generation it is, the next one or the one after that, the old ways are terrible and stuck up and so mean. You're such a meanie. When really, Carson, the butler, Charlie Carson, Charlie, is just trying to maintain some standards. If you let the footman walk in to dinner service with a thread coming loose on the shoulder of his livery, and you don't say something about it that might seem a little bit over the top, the next time the footman is going to show up in a tank top. If you know what I'm saying. And so, welcome in, Braun 2001. Welcome to Here's the Thing Live Wine and Whiskey Hour, where we discuss whatever, meandering through this and that after the kids are in bed. Just a way to disconnect for an hour or so and forget about the nonsense and just listen to conversation about this, that, and the other. And one thing in particular, I brought this up a little bit earlier, but today was a sad day in history. As I checked my email this morning, again emphasizing that not starting the day with an electronic event, go get some coffee, have a little breakfast, walk around outside, listen to the birds, and then go check your email and all that kind of stuff. The whole thing where you look, the first thing you do with the phone on the nightstand when you open your eyes is check social media and email and all that kind of stuff. Not healthy. Anyway, so today, on this day in history, 2016, 4 years ago, it seems like it's been a lot longer ago than that. This was a very sad day for musicians and music fans around the world, as one of the most brilliant human beings that's ever touched a musical instrument or stood next to a microphone left us. Prince died on this day 4 years ago, 2016. Very sad deal. There might not be too many more higher forms of musical genius than that man. Had a profound influence on a lot of musicians around the world, myself included, and loved digging in. His roots are so deep and so wide, his influences, that you could see that Motown wall of sound. You could hear and see James Brown, and you could hear funk and jazz and rock and pop, to the point of where he was, you couldn't classify him, you couldn't pigeonhole him, you couldn't genre him, so much so that he was given a genre. What did they call Minnesota sound, Minneapolis sound, whatever it was just Prince. Guy was a genius. And so as we meander on past that, discuss a particular item that creased my consciousness a couple of days ago that just really, I guess it aggravated me, but it made me think more than aggravated me, which is probably a good thing. And last Monday, I think, was my birthday, my 30th birthday. I don't think anyone's in the room that knows that that ain't true. But anyway, no, my 51st birthday. Anyway, a good friend of mine who I love dearly, I'm not going to bring into this other than to use as the platform for this story because she was sort of the genesis of it. She is with child, blessedly and happily, and went into labor on Monday morning, my birthday. And so I thought, cool, another member of the April 13th Club. Come on in with me, Thomas Jefferson, and Gary Kasparov. It's quite a group. Anyway, so that sent me to looking, because I was going to send her. Okay, so first of all, let me start with this. She's in her 20s. And what that means is that when she goes into labor, I'm hoping that the first thing that they did was grab her go bag and get her in the car and get her to the hospital. And that the second thing she did was take a selfie and put it on social media. I'm in labor now. As I said, I'm 51. She's in her 20s. I try to get these things. I genuinely try to get these things. I really, really do. But I can't really get past this whole thing. Anyway, so she went into labor. That's how I found out. And so I didn't hear from her for the rest of the day, I guess, thankfully. And certainly wasn't going to bother her. But I went to post a little message on her thing saying something to the effect of, hey, I didn't hear anything, blah, blah. Or I knew the baby was born. I knew the baby was okay. So we're not going to get into that. I wasn't going to go into those waters. I'm not an idiot. I'm 51. Remember? That was supposed to be funny. Anyway, so later on when I saw that the baby was born, I think it was the next day, I went because I wasn't sure if she had the baby on Monday or Tuesday, which would have been a really long labor. But I was going to post a clever little message saying something like, well, I never did hear. Was he born on Monday? If so, welcome another member, like I just said. Except I want it because she's in her 20s. And I didn't want to use Thomas Jefferson and Gary Kasparov as members of this group. So I wanted to be, see, here's me. I'm a giver. So I went to find out, hey, who are some people that she can more relate with? So I went to Google and typed in famous April 13th birthdays or whatever it was I typed in. And the list I got back was extraordinarily depressing because there was like 140 people on this list and about 126 of them were YouTube star, TikTok star, social media personality. And I'm thinking, oh my God. I try not to be old guy, but oh my God. And it wasn't really that, it was the pictures that went along with these people. Their little fish lip glam shots and their little hoods from their hoodies perched ever so carefully as their hands up to the side of their face. And it was just the largest collection of the most inauthentic garbage I've ever seen in my life, and it really depressed me. And I walked out that morning on the patio to join my wife for coffee, and I related this story to her, and I said to her, I cannot believe this. This is the list of people that I got, and I'm over here talking about Thomas Jefferson and Gary Kasparov, and I get a list of TikTok stars. As if that's a thing, which is the crux of my point. Is that a thing? Is this what I consider nonsense? The TikTok face, what's the other stupid thing these kids do where they just send a bunch of porn to each other and it goes away? That Snapchat. TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. The fact that no one under the age of 30 has ever seen anything live. They just see, they're there live. They just see it through their phones. And that just bothers me because I believe that they're missing a fundamental element of being human, which is trying to somehow experience something resembling a genuine life. Welcome, Ryan's Crazy Puppets. Glad to have you here on Here's a Thing Live Wine and Whiskey Hour as we meander through this and that after the kids have gone to bed. So welcome in. So glad to have you. So we're discussing not a whole heck of a lot of anything, but some meaningful not a whole heck of a lot of anything. We're just talking about, as you popped in, Ryan's Crazy Puppets, we were discussing Is this thing around me that I see as an old guy, is it real life? Is this what life is now, or is this the passing fad? And that is, there's nothing perceptively real anymore. Everything is a staged event for TikTok or I keep forgetting the porn, where kids produce kiddie porn and send it to each other, Snapchat and crap like that. And is that real? Is that a thing? Is that life? And if so, what's the next stage? Where do we go from there? What was the Tom Cruise movie where they laid around and Indeed, Ryan's Crazy Puppets. Well, there is school. It's just located from your home and my home. But yeah, so what's the next step? What was the movie where I don't know, Surrogates or whatever it's called, where basically people just didn't do anything. They went into their room and got into that little chamber that looked like a tanning bed and just lived artificial life, virtual reality that way. I mean, that movie's got to be 15 years old or so. It seems like they were prescient, well ahead of their time. But I'd like to, as I quite often discuss, my number one on my hit parade is authenticity. Authentic. Is it real? Is it authentic? Because authenticity is maybe the most important thing that we have in this rather insane, surreal thing we have going on. And I don't see a lot of it. So it's up to us to protect it. And so, speaking of COVID, Ryan's Crazy Puppets, we're all locked up in here, spending time together whether we want to or not. Welcome back, Cece. So very glad to have you again on the late night version, Wine and Whiskey Hour. After the kids are in bed. Most of them anyway. Little kids. The little kids. Right, Jeff X from Des Moines? It's called Wine and Whiskey Hour, but all consumers are welcome. I personally have a little seltzer water with lemon juice. Between that and coffee, it keeps me afloat. But COVID, I don't think I've said that word in 3 days. I've put a forced moratorium on it, but there's a thing. Here's a thing about this particular plague and the particular circumstances under which we find ourselves, which is somehow, in very peculiar fashion, unless you've been paying attention. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me there, Ryan's Crazy Puppets. I have a 16-year-old, so I know what's going on there. Isn't it amazing, unless you've been paying attention, how the leaders, the leadership, the governors, the mayors, the presidents, the prime ministers all said, oh my gosh, there's a plague again, except this time we need you to all go inside and stay there and shut down your businesses. And we all went, okay. What is that? How did that happen? Boy, that's like the pot of water boiling the frog. La 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 la. Ooh, I like this nice warm bath. Whoa, I'm boiling alive. Didn't see that coming. Anyway, when our lords and masters deem it appropriate for us to reemerge to the world, whatever world we may find, what are your plans? Because here's the thing. A lot of people I hear and read are acting as if when the green flag goes up, the all clear is blown, that, well, you just go back to kind of doing, well, okay, I'm going to go stand in a group of 80 people and, blow snot everywhere and touch everything. Except for when the all clear is blown and when they say it's okay to go back outside and shop and run your businesses. Well, my gosh, you control the space around you. You can still wear your gloves and your mask. You can still social distance, which is something that we should have been doing all along anyway. Please do not get that close to me. Don't shuffle up on me when I'm standing in line. Back off. Don't let your children walk around in Walmart and touch everything. I know you think that's adorable and that's just letting kids be kids and live themselves, but put up some boundaries. That's what they're looking for. Hey, Junior, stop touching everything. Personal responsibility, Jeff. I feel like I don't hear that enough. Someone great once upon a time said, with great freedom comes great responsibility. It's not an either-or thing. And so with that responsibility, again, you control your own space. Keep it clean. The two things have astonished me during this plague. The one thing is finding, well, okay, I'm going to combine two. Thing one is the fact that apparently no one was washing their hands and no one was cleaning anything. Good God. Secondly, toilet paper. What in the world are you people doing with all the toilet paper? I've seen one package of toilet paper in my town in a month. I'm not understanding this. Are you pooping a lot more? I know everybody's at home more, but good heavens, the supply line on toilet paper, a fundamental, essential commodity, could not have possibly been so thin that everybody went ape nuts buying toilet paper a couple of days and the entire global supply of toilet paper was gone for a month. I'm not feeling it. So when the all clear is blown and when you go back outside, I suggest that you control the space around you and modify it. Keep your distance. Don't touch stuff you don't need to touch. How about this? Don't go outside if you're sick. Or, you know what I mean. Don't go to a movie. Don't go to work. Because I think that we have proven that a lot of people can work from home. I understand that there's a lot of folks in the service industry and in things like driving and delivery and shipping and all of this kind of stuff that need to go to work. But there's a whole bunch of people in this economy that do not need to leave home. My entire family situation right now, I don't see it needing to change. Not one bit. Other than I think that my wife would probably want to get out of the house at least 1 or 2 days a week. But again, to reiterate, when they say, okay, children, you can go outside now, you don't have to just stumble outside and act irresponsibly. I may wear my mask. It's going to be like Tokyo up in here. I may wear my mask and walk around with my bleach water bottle for the rest of time. One thing that's going to be tough for me is I may not shake hands again. And that's difficult. I was raised by parents and grandparents and mentors that a fundamental part of human interaction and a really good litmus test to judge somebody's character is a firm handshake. But I may not shake hands anymore. I may let that one go. May do the namaste, the bow greeting, which I think is way cooler anyway. I think the origin of the handshake was from something in England or in the Old West or something, when you were riding a horse and you came across someone going the other direction, coming at you, and you shook hands to show that you weren't carrying a weapon or something like that, and you were friendly. And so really probably doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to do with anything. But I may give that one up, and that'll be tough for me. And so, on that note, I want to bid you a good evening and thank you once again for joining me on Here's the Thing, Wine and Whiskey Hour. As we meandered through this and that after the young kids were in bed, a little brown water, a little cigar, a little pipe, a little Captain Black. And we will see you again very, very soon. And until that time, just want to remind you of a couple of things. You can always find Here's the Thing pretty much anywhere. Search Here's the Thing right here on the Podbean app, all over the Apple stuff, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and lots of other places in the podcast universe. Feel free to join, share the episodes, follow, like, rate, review. Become a patron. Donate to the cause. But I wish you a wonderful evening as we approach the 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 10 p.m., 2200 hours, GMT -4. I should have hit the post right there. If I was good, I would have hit the post right there. But thank you for being here, and we will talk again very soon. Regular episodes will be out, hopefully each and every day. And the live episodes might just pop up whenever I feel like it. I was trying to plan for it once a week, but today I've done 2. And it's been a joy. I was born for radio, and here I get to play like a radio host. So thanks for joining me. And whatever you do, get after it 100% or don't bother. You owe that to yourself because integrity matters. And listen to me and listen to me good. Remember this and write it down. If you can't be anything else today, be authentic. It will pay off. Thanks, y'all. And good night.